Welcome, new batch of Foundation research and security personnel. I am Dr. Damian Wolf, and I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for this mandatory explainer. Now, over my decade and a half here at the Foundation, I've had the distinct pleasure of working with some of the absolute sharpest minds we have. And with my background in psychology and metaphysics, plus, an IQ hovering right around the 186 mark, I really like to think I've seen just about everything the anomalous world can throw at us. But today, well, we're looking at something that still sends a very real shiver down my spine. We are diving into the ultimate cautionary tale. So let's get right into the Site-13 case study. Listen up, because your survival in anomalous zones depends entirely on strict, unwavering adherence to Foundation protocols. The absolutely crucial piece of tech here is the Maxwell-hardened suit. If you're ever deployed to a compromised zone like Site-13, this modified, reinforced airtight suit is your new best friend. It is strictly mandatory for Class 7 hazardous contact preparation. Let me be clear, walking into a site flooded with biological sludge and unknown pathogens without this suit isn't brave. It is a guaranteed death sentence. You either wear the suit or you literally become part of the anomaly. And remember, leaving the site is just as dangerous as going in. The mandatory decontamination protocol is absolute. The second you are extracted, you submit to quarantine security staff. No exceptions. Then you undergo a truly grueling physical and chemical decontamination process. After that, you wait in quarantine for a secondary assessment. And step 4? Well, if decontamination becomes unfeasible, say a parasitic blood leech has somehow gestated inside your respiratory system, you are subject to immediate termination. We do not take risks with Class 7 hazards, rookies. Keep it clean, or we will clean it for you.
So, what happened to Site-13? This chilling question is the whole crux of our explainer today. When the massive, deteriorating complex designated SCP-1730 was discovered completely abandoned out in Big Bend Ranch State Park, Texas, our exploration teams found this exact phrase scrawled repeatedly on the dark basement walls, and guys, it was written in anomalous blood.
Now consider the sheer impossibility of this spatial contradiction. If you pull the official Foundation records, Site-13 was just a scrapped project. It was supposed to be built near Nome, Alaska, but we abandoned the whole thing to focus on the much larger Site-19. Literally, it was never finished. Yet out of nowhere, we discover a massive, completely ruined but highly active containment complex sitting smack in the middle of Big Bend Ranch State Park in Texas. And get this, the flora growing inside, native to Alaska. It shouldn't exist, it definitely shouldn't be in Texas, and it absolutely shouldn't be fully stocked with unimaginable horrors.
So, how does a massive containment facility actually die? Well, this is the absolute worst-case scenario. These are the final recorded automated emergency transmissions broadcasted just moments before a massive explosion ripped through the site's power relay. Look at these cascading system failures. Somehow life support is miraculously online, but electrical and fire control offline. The reactor is critical, Euclid-class containment is critical, and Keter-class containment is fully compromised. It's a literal nightmare scenario for containment integrity. Every single thing that was meant to keep the monsters in their boxes just stopped working at once.
Now, why did these massive systems fail? Sadly, we have director Elliot Emerson to thank for that. He took an incinerator shaft and repurposed it into what the staff called the body pit. Instead of proper ethical containment and rigorous study, he ordered the mass termination of humanoid anomalies simply by dumping them down the shaft. The incinerators obviously couldn't handle that kind of anomalous load, which resulted in a highly toxic buildup of biological sludge, blood, and pus that completely clogged the power station's cooling systems. His unethical disposal methods directly caused these catastrophic biological hazards and system meltdowns.
Which leads us straight to the Thresher Protocol. This was an experimental, wildly unstable device that required a massive 55 gigawatts of power. It was designed to completely alter local reality, but strictly as an absolute last resort. Based on the terminal logs we recovered, we've deduced that a rogue staff member, most likely a researcher named Dr. Hadley acting out of pure revenge against Director Emerson's cruelty, activated the Thresher Protocol. This incredibly reckless deployment of reality-bending tech is almost certainly what tore Site-13 out of its original timeline in Alaska and slammed it right into Texas.
From a metaphysical standpoint, this site was a total minefield. Entities roaming the halls were actively drawing pyroclastic cognitohazards on the walls.
I want to directly challenge your psychological training right now.
I want you to imagine you're walking down a pitch-black hallway. Your flashlight sweeps across the concrete wall, and you suddenly see the words, "Don't look," scrawled in blood right next to a really strange, intricate symbol. What do? Do you investigate the symbol to log it for Site Command? Take a second. Really think about your initial instincts here.
Well, if you said, "Look at the symbol," congratulations, you just ignite it from the inside out. Speaking from a metaphysics standpoint, I can tell you these aren't just spooky drawings, they are literal ontological traps. These were drawn on the walls of Site-13 by a multi-limbed entity roaming the halls. If you even merely become aware of these specific glyphs, you inevitably succumb to the effects. You silently explode and burn from the ears outward. You either follow life-saving directives, or you become a human candle.
With these extreme hazards in play, we had to rely on our mobile task forces, but the site systematically dismantled their tactical superiority, layer by miserable layer. This timeline maps out the chilling escalation. Initial exploration by MTF D12, the Mudslingers, met with rapid casualties and bizarre architectural shifts. Then MTF Y24, Gulliver's Travelers, attempted to assess the power station, only to be swallowed whole by the dark. Next went MTF Z9, the Mole Rats. And keep in mind, these guys are specialists in anomalous structures, but they were actively hunted and separated in the deep basements. It ultimately required the highly specialized capabilities of Apollo 3 and the cybernetically enhanced Tau-5 Samsara just to extract the few survivors we had left.
The compounding difficulty of operating in a compromised zone is honestly terrifying when you map it out like this. D12 handled the initial sludge and leeches but failed. Y24 found these superheated cores in that horrific body pit. Z9 encountered the spatial anomalies and the Thresher device itself. AP5 faced reality-bending constructs and cognitohazards while desperately trying to save survivors. And finally, the immortal cyborgs of Tau-5 had to engage with multi-limbed kinetohazard entities just to pull a handful of people out alive. Every single highly trained team was systematically pushed to the absolute brink by this environment.
The MTF logs from these deployments document some incredibly specific, terrifying tactical breakdowns. The site's anomalous nature actively isolated squads through unexplained radio silence and localized reality shifts that physically separated team members down these impossible twisting hallways. On top of that, there was severe interference with scramble visors, which, as you know, are designed to filter out visual hazards, and constant catastrophic equipment malfunctions. They weren't just fighting anomalies down there, they were literally fighting the building itself.
Visually, Site-13 transformed from a structured research base into the shifting, predatory ruin. Task forces encountered missing stairwells that just dropped off into unending black liquid voids. The topography was so violently unstable that the architecture would unexpectedly reset, actively fusing living task force members directly into the concrete walls, ceilings, and floors. Think about that for a second. The environment was literally digesting its own staff.
When containment fully failed, the lower levels of Site-13 became an absolute zoo of horrors. We are talking about black blood leeches gestating in that toxic sludge from the body pit, just waiting to crawl down your throat. There were silent, multi-limbed entities applying kinetohazards that literally weaponized their own gestures against you. Our team saw shimmering, transparent constructs that warp local space so violently they just rip agents apart. And let's not forget the severely disfigured, rotted humanoid corpses permanently fused into the architecture. It is a fascinating, yet utterly terrifying ecosystem of failure.
And the ultimate tragedy is that this was all entirely preventable. Listen to this chilling excerpt from a letter left by Dr. Hadley for Director Emerson. "This is your death camp, Elliot. You made your bed, and now you get to die in it." Hadley purposefully agitated a blood leech anomaly named Elijah down in the pit specifically to trigger this breach. It was a punishment for Emerson treating anomalies like disposable garbage instead of following ethics committee protocols. Let this be a crystal clear lesson to all of you. Ethical failures in research lead directly to catastrophic containment breaches.
And the people who actually paid the price for this? The ground-level staff. The dry mission reports we file heavily contrast with the harrowing personal testimonies of the actual survivors. From a repeating distress beacon, we recovered the voice of Dr. Mohammed Scott, who was trapped in the Temporal Studies Division. His message was incredibly stark. "We are currently surrounded by hostile entities and other hazardous anomalies. Please help us." Dozens of innocent staff were trapped in a freezing, starving siege against nightmare entities, paying the ultimate price for administrative hubris. So, as we wrap up this training module, I'm going to leave you with this final provocative question.
Will you rigorously uphold Foundation containment protocols, maintaining absolute discipline and ethical scientific rigor? Or will your name be the next one discovered, scrawled in blood, in the depths of a ruined basement? The standard protocols exist for a very good reason. Learn them, live them, and you might just survive this job. Thank you for your time, trainees. Dismissed.